The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Good evening. I'm Shamsadim Jabbar, property manager with Blue Meadow Properties and team lead at the Amidst group at Core Realty. I just want to say hello and let you know a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and now live in Houston. And I've been here all my life. With the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist, where I learned the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsive and take everything seriously, dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that things go off without a hit.
All right, people, dig in and put on your critical thinking hat because, man, there's a lot that I don't know, kind of became apparent to me over the last 24 hours. And if you listen to yesterday's episode, you know, I talked about the New Orleans, tragedy that occurred. And basically, the guy you just heard, that is Shamsadim Jabbar. That's the guy that was driving the truck. And this is the video of him that is basically all over the internet. And it's from a few years ago. Obviously, dude sounds like as normal as can be and looks as normal as can be. I mean, he looks like just a black guy, kind of maybe a mixed race black guy. Like, I don't know, like maybe like roots from like Ethiopia or Sri Lanka or something like that. But the guy was born in the United States. He grew up in Texas, as he said. And again, he's a 10-year Army veteran. So, all right, I'm just thinking out loud on this. I'm just thinking out loud. But give a listen to, well, let's start off by listening to the way CNN reported on it.
We're learning this as we're also learning some new details about the 42-year-old suspect identified as Shamsadim Jabbar. He was a divorced father of two, grew up in Texas, and previously served in the U.S. Army. He has recently experienced financial problems, the suspect revealing in a recording that he planned to kill his family, but changed his mind and instead joined ISIS.
All right, so here's where it gets a little bit interesting to me. So it says, Jabbar, who drove a pickup truck into a crowd of revelers on Bourbon Street, killing 14 people and injuring dozens, posted 5 videos on Facebook in the hours and minutes leading up to the attack. Jabbar, a Texas-born U.S. citizen and Army veteran who served in Afghanistan, made reference in the videos to his divorce and how he had at first planned to gather his family for a celebration with the intention of killing them. But Jabbar said in the videos he changed his plans because he wanted news headlines to focus on the war between the believers and the disbelievers. So again, it's creating that, I'm telling you, it's creating that war between the believers and the disbelievers. And this becomes the believers. I'm assuming they're talking about of like Islam and being Muslim, and then the disbelievers of that. All right, let me read you the rest of this from CNN. Jabbar stated that he had joined ISIS before this summer. All right, so basically they're saying that he posted these videos on Facebook. Now, here's the other interesting part. The videos, which CNN has not reviewed, were posted on Jabbar's Facebook page Wednesday between 1:29 a.m. and 3:02 a.m. But the videos have since then been taken down. So basically they're saying he posted 5 videos between 1:29 a.m. and 3:02 a.m. Now the videos, CNN nor anybody has seen these videos. They've been quote unquote taken down. And then the event took place at 3:15 a.m. So he's in his car at 3:02 a.m., posts a video, and then proceeds to do this at 3:15 a.m. I mean, again, just seems a little off to me. Now, let's listen to what Patrick Bet David talked about on his podcast as they were showing a video of his white truck basically on Bourbon Street right before it sort of makes the turn around the corner and then like guns it and accelerates to 80 miles an hour and, does the damage that it did.
So this is the clip of the truck. I have it before it goes into the crowd if you want to show it.
Yeah, show it before it goes into the crowd.
Other B-roll of the truck as well.
Okay, let's see some B-roll here.
I wish you could see this, but again, the important thing to remember is, so he's talking about this is the clip of the truck before it goes into the crowd and before it basically takes everybody out, right? So basically picture just a busy street, okay? And somehow there is a camera, who knows whose camera this is, but again, somehow there is a camera that's literally like across the street. So imagine looking forward from where you are sitting right now and 30 feet across the street, but the camera's fixated on just this guy's truck and it follows him.
So that's
3:15 a.m.
This is just traffic on the side street.
And he's going to take a right here.
Now let me ask you a question. What camera is so focused on that truck?
Exactly, PBD. What camera is so focused on that truck?
Why is that camera following it? Why does the camera know to follow the white truck?
Well, see that's the barricade right there, PBD. Now watch what he does. He stops, and then he takes his hard right, and then boom, he's going. And now he's going.
All right, so that was kind of stupid of Vincent. He didn't get it. He didn't get what PBD was saying. PBD was saying, wait a minute, how is there a camera, like literally, it's not focused on the street. It's moving with this dude's truck. Let's see if PBD gets back into it and doesn't let it go.
Look at that, man.
No, and now he's gone. He's going 80 miles an hour down a narrow street, and now they all know that.
But let me ask you, why does the camera know to follow that?
I'd like to know whose footage this is. That's what I'd really like to know. Have they edited down into a square for us, maybe a security camera from across the street?
Honestly, this is the stuff that, prior to... I'm not kidding. Prior to the last 4 years not happening, I would have never thought this intensely about anything. But like PBD is saying, why is the camera moving with the truck? And then Tom says, yeah, I'd like to know whose security footage this is and why it's edited down into just a nice little square. But again, if you see this footage, it's as if there is a camera literally focused on just that guy's truck. And again, it's moving up the street with them. It's not a security camera that's stationary capturing across the street. You see what I mean?
Or who is taking this and knows to take this? Or is this multiple...
Because the Ring cameras, like those cameras that people are out there, or even the PZT cameras, are the PZT cameras able for you to track something after the event? No, right?
Right. I don't know why it would, because there's multiple vehicles moving in the traffic on that street.
That's interesting. So what is this?
These really quick, this is super important. And honestly, I don't think anyone's really picking up on this. There's multiple vehicles moving. So why is the camera footage able to just track this dude's truck? And like they just said, you can't track something after the fact, after it's been recorded. This is kind of a big deal. And I don't think it's going to get really talked about that much.
These are now the cameras that are outside of establishments, like, watching your door or whatever.
And this is where he's driving 80 miles an hour and the people get out the way?
Everybody gets out of the way in this video, but yeah, you just want to see how quick
he's going. Go ahead, Rob.
All right, so they moved on to where now you're seeing the footage that's really everywhere, and it's when the car is really barreling at 80 miles an hour. But again, I think PBD nailed it. He really did, but I don't think they realized what they just nailed. And what they just nailed is that initial footage of the guy's truck before he makes the turn onto the street and then takes off at 80 miles an hour. It is very strange that initial footage was able to follow his vehicle. Seriously, this is really a big deal. It's kind of going to, I think it's going to go under the radar. I really do. It'll be interesting to see if anybody else starts talking about this. All right, let's listen to the rest of this.
Look at, oh my goodness, bro. Oh my God.
You see, that camera doesn't move. So that's an external security camera.
Have you spent any time on Bourbon Street?
All right, this Adam guy is such a dipshit. I've got to cut him out. He literally adds no value.
Have you guys ever been there?
Yes,
Of course.
many times.
You know, I was there less than a year ago with Deli. We were filming on this exact street. And then that's just on a random day throughout the year. On New Year's,
Oh, man.
too many people are out there reveling, having a great time. And this is what comes out of absolute nowhere.
Literally, that dude just like takes up oxygen. What he just contributed was so worthless right there.
And by the way, more people would have been killed further down the street, and nobody's pointing out. He struck a construction bucket loader. And that was the end of the...
All right, I'm going to cut those guys there. Again, the main point of playing you that segment was, you know, PBD, Patrick Bet David, is literally the only one that I saw and heard. And I didn't even catch this until I saw it on his podcast. But again, it was the moment where the guy's white truck was traveling on the first road or street, and the fact that the camera, whatever camera that was across the way, was following his truck. That's weird. That's strange. That doesn't make sense. Again, a security camera or somebody's Ring camera or whatever, that's just going to shoot straight away. So you're going to capture that guy's truck, but then once that guy moves out of the frame, he's gone. But the way this was working, if you can picture this in your mind, it's literally like the camera was following him before he then makes a right turn and then, you know, peels out like a bat out of hell and starts barreling down the street. Now, again, I'm just pointing that out because I found that incredibly strange and I found that odd. Now, I want to preface everything I just said with this stuff makes me so sad because innocent people had to lose their lives on New Year's Eve. I mean, that's just absolutely awful. There's nothing worse than tragic death. There really isn't. There's nothing worse than tragic death. So again, even though I'm thinking out loud with this stuff, please don't ever get it twisted that, you know, my first and foremost, you know, feelings are empathetic toward those people that lost their lives and then their families. Don't ever get that twisted, okay? Seriously, don't ever get that twisted. But again, this is thinking out loud because what I feel like I'm figuring out is taking place is kind of what I've talked about. You know, I've talked a lot about, you know, there needing to be another big September 11 type event to rally the American public behind, you know, doing whatever needs to be done. And we'll get into that in a minute. All right. So now let's shift to, here's President Biden's speech. And again, this was just off to me. I mean, curious to get your thoughts, but this speech was just off to me. This was his first time addressing the public. I think, you know, that next morning.
The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack. Possible explosives were found in the vehicle as well, and more explosives were found nearby. The situation is very fluid, and the investigation has a preliminary stage. And the fact is that right now,
Funny side note, I literally forgot that Biden was president until I saw this, where he's like squinting his eyes like Clint Eastwood.
There you go. The law enforcement and intelligence community are continuing to look for any connections, associations, or co-conspirators.
All right. Anyway, enough on that for now. Again, I'm just asking you to kind of put your critical thinking hat on and just see if this stuff makes sense. All right, let's move on to the second thing that happened on New Year's Day.
Additionally, we're tracking the explosion of a Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Law enforcement and the intelligence community are investigating this as well, including whether there's any possible connection with the attack in New Orleans. Thus far, there's nothing to report on that score at this time. I directed my team to make sure every resource is made available to federal, state, and local law enforcement to complete the investigation in New Orleans quickly and to make sure there is no remaining threat to the American people. And we'll support the people of New Orleans as they begin the hard work of healing. God bless the people of New Orleans. God bless our police and our first responders. May God protect our troops, and we'll keep you fully, contemporaneously informed. Thank you.
All right, I will give President Biden credit for dropping the word contemporaneously. I'm not even going to lie, I wasn't quite sure the meaning of that word. I had to look it up. Contemporaneously. Dude, he does surprise me every once in a while. I mean, I feel like the guy's asleep at the wheel, but man, every once in a while he wakes up. All right, so to close out on the Cybertruck blowing up in front of Trump Tower in Las Vegas. Again, I mean, it's a Cybertruck owned by, obviously, Tesla, Elon Musk, blowing up in front of Trump Tower. This stuff is not, it's not random. It's just not. Now, here's the crazy thing about the Cybertruck. So it says, this is in the USA Today. I'm sorry, this is the Associated Press. It says, the highly decorated army soldier inside a Tesla Cybertruck packed with fireworks that exploded outside of Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas shot himself in the head just before detonation. Matthew Livelsberger was a decorated Green Beret. So the dude was a Green Beret. All right, let me read you a little more of this. It says, a law enforcement official said investigators learned through interviews that he may have gotten into a fight with his wife about relationship issues shortly before he rented the Tesla and bought the guns. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss the ongoing investigation. I mean, again, it's like they just drop these statements, put no credibility or validity behind them. And again, you know, people run with this stuff. They run with this stuff. So here's another guy that, you know, is a highly decorated Green Beret serving in the United States military. He was deployed twice to Afghanistan, and he served in Ukraine, Tajikistan, Georgia, and the Congo, the Army said. He was awarded a total of 5 Bronze Stars. All right, so this dude is like badass incorporated. Anyway, so my point of all this is that here are 2 attacks happening literally on day 1 of 2025. And what is the goal? The goal is to either drum up public support or maybe even, I don't know, convince Trump. God, sometimes I wonder, like, is Trump so basic that he falls for anything? Or does he have enough smart people around him? Namely Tucker Carlson. I will say, I am truly hoping Tucker Carlson, who seems to get a lot of guidance these days or have a lot of discussion with Professor Jeffrey Sachs and Professor John Mearsheimer, you know, both guys that I really like and respect. I am hoping these guys kind of talk into Trump's ear with, you know, almost like the voice of common sense from the other side versus all the just knucklehead, you know, crazy right-wing MAGA, just like the super basic guys who basically look at this as black and white and, you know, are talking about, oh, this is ISIS, Al-Qaeda, sleeper cells that are getting activated. And again, this is, I'm telling you, this stuff is like 4D chess. But if you just literally like float above this, like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix or something, and you try to realize that what are they heading us toward? And again, they're heading us toward more war and more killing and more forever wars. And what does that require? That requires more money and more budget and more bills and more omnibus bills and all that stuff. So now you have the right side, the right wing of guys that that to me are just like, I don't know, they just are coming off so basic. And it's them that are advocating for probably forever wars and, basically, again, this, I'm telling you, and again, this is like zero bias. This is zero anything. This is just, calling a spade a spade. It really is again, I have no affiliation to anything. I have no skin in the game with anything. I don't really have a side, but what I see happening is, again, this setting the stage for, an attack against, let's say, Muslims, Islam, and it's actually not even, well, it could be against people in the United States, but, obviously it's the Middle Eastern countries that are either Sunni or Shiite Muslim. Now, Iran is Shiite Muslim, and so obviously Iran is, Iran's the quite frankly probably the only major adversary left because, Hamas is a kind of a joke. I mean, I don't even know who's running that anymore. That is just such a scam to me. Hezbollah has been completely annihilated. That means Lebanon's out of the mix. They don't really have any power anymore. Syria, now that Bashar al-Assad is overthrown, and you've got this HTS and al-Jilani, who's just, literally a puppet. Those guys are out of the mix, so there's no threat there. So really, in the Middle East, the only real threat is Iran. And so again, what is being concocted? Well, we'll see. I mean, this will all come to fruition based on kind of what happens. Now, again, remember, both the guy that did the New Orleans thing and the guy that did the Cybertruck in Las Vegas, these are both American citizens. So these are both citizens of the United States, both born and raised in the United States. And so let me read you this tweet from this guy, Matt Kim. I played him before on the podcast. He's got this Matt Attack, and he's a super interesting guy. I'm trying to get a hold of him. But this tweet that he sent, I thought made a lot of sense. Let me read this. He said, "Tread carefully as the narrative thickens to call a U.S. citizen a quote-unquote terrorist, because the next logical step is mass surveillance of American social profiles, histories, and communications to make sure this never happens again." So again, he's basically saying now, the two people that did this are American citizens, but again, they're immediately labeled terrorists. So quote unquote, this is him talking again, "for your safety. Before you know it, we're in another war in the Middle East with the Patriot Act 2.0 and beefed up DHS, Department of Homeland Securities. I understand people's anger and concern given the limited facts and heavy propaganda. Pray for wisdom, patience, and discernment. It's literally only the first day of 2025. So again, the most important part of his tweet was what he said at the beginning. Let me read it again. "Tread carefully as the narrative thickens to call a U.S. citizen a terrorist, because the next logical step is mass surveillance of American social profiles, histories, and communications to make sure this never happens again." And he basically is saying all of that will happen under the guise of, quote, "for your safety." Anyway, just think about what's going on. Seriously, just think about what's going on. Think about it outside of just the isolated incident. And again, the people that committed it. So now it'll be interesting to see if they are going to come out with additional information that all of a sudden categorizes. The first guy makes a little more sense, but the second guy, this Matt Riffelberger or whatever his last name was, this dude was like, I mean, it's like the most Americana guy ever, like white bread American who becomes a Green Beret. Like, how does that guy get radicalized to Islam and to ISIS? I don't know, man. That's a little bit of a stretch for me. But again, anything is possible. I mean, obviously anything is possible. But I think whether he is or has been or was radicalized or not, I think what's interesting is how fast they're trying to make you believe that he was. Okay? If nothing else, let's leave it at that. Like, isn't it strange that like the most Americana dude ever who is a Green Beret, it's like immediately they're trying to categorize him as somebody that's been radicalized. And this is like before they even truly have any real facts, but that's the narrative that is being not only presented, but that's the narrative that's being painted. All right. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about today. All right, you know what? I'll take us out on, I played this one time a long time ago, but I thought about it while I was recording this episode. But this is this comedian, his name is Ron Funches, Funches. Again, Ron Funches. This is a hilarious bit to me. I think it's so funny. So anyway, man, I tried to call a spade this episode. I really did. I hope it all made sense. I mean, again, this honestly is not relatively, even more than relatively. I mean, this is complicated stuff to try to grasp and to try to figure out like, okay, what is the real motive and intention and what's really happening? I mean, it honestly is. But again, I truly think that if you put all of your emotions aside and you put everything aside besides just, okay, the past 4 years have been crazy weird. It's been weird thing after weird thing after weird thing. So instead of just accepting what I'm seeing and being told, let me think about this a little bit and let me see if this could be something. I mean, it might not be anything. It really might not. But then again, it might. So anyway, call a spade. Give this a listen. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.
I just don't understand. How do you not believe in any conspiracy theories? I understand not all of them, not most of them, but you don't believe in any conspiracy theory? You just think the government's just batting 1,000 and telling us the whole truth? That's a strong stance to take. And again, as I said before, I don't like talking about politics on stage or off stage. I don't like talking about things I don't feel like I'm truly knowledgeable in. But I do know this. Our government is placed in charge of all of its people. I'm a father who's been placed in charge of just one son. And I lie to that nigga all the time.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.